What's up, fam? Extraordinary Life with Elijah, and I had so much fun last week tearing the lid off of all that the Lord has placed in my heart. I know we just opened the can, poured out a little bit, but it felt so good to just release the goodness of the drops of stuff that God has placed in my heart. Just drop a little bit of it out. Get it on your tongue so you can start tasting it. It was so beautiful, but this video last week was so late in the week because that video was so difficult to get out. There was so many setbacks. I wanted to do a screen capture on my iPad, and I would get through the video and my iPad would have shut off. It would only record for just a little bit, but as soon as I turned the camera off and did tests, I could screen capture for hours on end without interruption. But as soon as I would go to record that video, it would fail and something would happen and it would just block, and it was so frustrating. But God is a God who redeems. And so I forgot one element from the testimony of what God did, but that in March 18th of telling me, now is the time to build up the church out of the overflow of your heart. So for the first half of that testimony, go watch the first portion of last week's video. I'll put the link up above. In God saying, now is the time, 12:34, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks, Matthew 12:34. Later on in that week, I wanted to record that, to get it started and to record the video that I just released last Friday, but just kept getting prevented. Wound up going to Billings then to celebrate Easter with my family. While I was in the kitchen with my brother, we were making lunch, I looked at the clock on the stove and I said, 12:34. Again, my heart just leapt. And I was like, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. As I quoted that in my heart, I told my brother the testimony of what God had done on March 17th. In doing that, my brother, he's very prophetic and has a friend, Cole, who is also very prophetic. And they joke back and forth together about Danny Silk's sketch about the fivefold ministry and how prophets have a lot going on. And in Danny being silly, he said that prophets don't actually have clocks. They have supernatural portals, and that they see it and they see 12:34. That's divine order. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it happens twice a day. And 2 is the number of witness. Call the intercessors. God's speaking. That is totally prophets. But out of the silliness of my brother's relationship with his friend Cole sent him a text and said, "Hey, did you see what the date was today? It's April 3rd, 2021. 4, 3, 2, 1. My brother told me that and it just lit me up, because not only did God speak to me out of the order of the things that I love and numbers and patterns and just very specific things to my heart that he said, but that on March 18th, after having spent a night of dreams with him on March 17th, and the successive years, every year speaking to me on that date, that he said at 12:34, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Now is the time to speak, to build up the church in love, not out of the overflow of your mind, but the overflow of your heart. And that the first time that I shared that testimony was with my brother at 12:34 in the afternoon on 4, 3, 2, 1. It just blows my mind, the pursuit of God's goodness to speak to my heart in extraordinary ways, but that his extraordinary love is then revealed to me. Beyond that, this last week, as I finished up the video of So It Begins, that as I finished it up and went to upload it to YouTube, I looked at the clock and it was 12:34 at night. It's just beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, just up and down and up and down. And that is so beautiful. I love God's pursuit of my heart. Beyond that, then, that God, here 2 days ago, I had just a beautiful dream in the night with the Father. And there was just a revelation of his person his divine musing before creating all things, that in his triune person, just musing over his deep heart desires and everything that he would create. In the revelation of himself in this dream, it was just this beautiful display of his power, of how all of those hearts musing of him in his person, of just his everlasting love and desire and imagination of everything that was to come, that as he rushed forward to express that the full expression of his love collided with the vacuum of nothing, and that non-existence was transformed into the revelation of his heart's desires in love. I was so overwhelmed in his goodness in a new way, and I did my best to journal what I saw and experienced, and I'm just gonna read some of that to you because it's so beautiful. God's love is the most transformative source of momentum. The full force of his love's momentum collided with the substance of non-existence and transformed it into everything that is currently seen. All of non-existence was pulled into the momentum of God's movement of love towards the pursuit of man. The deep desires of our Father's heart were given voice through the word of his Son, fluent in the heart language of heaven, and Spirit translated this creative authorability into the manifold wisdom of all things existent. As I experienced God's love in this space of dreaming with him, I was so struck, I was so overwhelmed with this expression of God's power to transform things that would oppose the expression of his will into being the exact representation of what he longs for. Think about the context of a wrecking ball, that a wrecking ball has massive power to release destruction into a building through demolition and to tear it down and to destroy it, to reduce value to nothing and to chaos. But think about the reverse, that God's heart, the substance of who he is, that his person of love, that he is love, but that as the forward rushing movement of his momentum created in a pursuit of relationship with man, released this translated momentum into non-existence, such that when the momentum of his heart in the pursuit of man in love collided with the resistive force of non-existence, that his love imparted the fullness of everything that he envisioned into substantive reality, that it constructed it within chaos, and rather than being destruction, that it was instruction in his heart demonstrated. I know that is a very complex thought, but it just overwhelms me in hope, that I'm overwhelmed with hope in the love of God and his pursuit of us. If you think about his heart as revealed in John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whosoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life, regardless of what circumstances you find yourself in. Think about your circumstances. Think about the things that surround your life and where you are positioned within them. And maybe they're dire. Maybe they're hopeless. Maybe you're surrounded by a loss of finances or a loss of health, or you have family turmoil, or you're upset about all of the things in our nation, in politics, or whatever it is that is surrounded where you're positioned now in life. Think about the aspect of the non-existence that existed before God said, "Let there be light." It was nothing. It was a vacuum. It was a void, a resistive space that said, all of your expression, God, of existence and life and beauty can't be made here. You can't form it into us because we're non-existence. However, that the forward rush of God's intent to reveal the fullness of his love, to meet with you, to meet with me, was so great that as the forward movement of all of those desires, the momentum of his love collided with the substance of non-existence, that it translated all of his desires into non-existence such that it transformed it into the manifest revelation of everything that was in his heart. That's so powerful. That non-existence itself got sucked into the vortex of his mighty vision of love. Man, so far beyond John 3:16 coming into existence at the point when Jesus entered the earth to bring redemption and salvation to man's fall from glory. The expression of God's heart in his love, that he so loved the world, was present before the foundations of the earth. That Jesus was the lamb slain before the foundations of the earth. And so his coming, his living amongst us, his trial, his persecution, his death on the cross, his burial, his resurrection, his ascension back to the Father, is only the manifest expression of the physical reality of what God had already put in motion, coming to pass, getting caught up in the forward rush of his love's pursuit of you. So my encouragement to you is, whatever you find yourself in, again, whatever your circumstances are, circular, surrounding, circumstances. So whatever you find yourself standing in, and whatever things are circling around you, and whatever lack of hope that you may have, or the fears that you have, or the doubts that you have, or the wonderings that you have, my declaration to you is that my Father's love, the momentum of his love and his pursuit of you, his movement towards you to express his love to you, is powerful enough to transform nothingness into somethingness. And therefore, whatever you find yourself in, that the power of his love is capable of catching you up into the full expression of his heart's desires for you. I'm running off of the manifest testimony of his goodness to pursue me and to overwhelm any efforts of darkness to stand in my way. Whatever the devil and darkness and death have intended for evil, God is pulling it together for my good. I was beset on every side from making my video last week, and it was so frustrating. I was so frustrated. But in all of that there was this mighty wrecking ball of God's love crashing through everything that darkness was trying to set up to prevent my way, breaking down every wall, destroying every work of the devil, and clearly demonstrating that he was pursuing my heart. 12:34, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks, Elijah. Now is the time to build up the church from love. And then on 4:3:2:1, that I gave my very first declaration and revelation of that to my brother in the town where God started the vision and planted the seed, but that was now grown up into fullness, that he took the fruit and he took it back to the root, 4:3:2:1, and that he finished the video on 1:2:3:4, and there's just this wrecking ball of love coming back and forth through my life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, just swinging back and forth, catching me up into the momentum of his movement of love in pursuit of me. And anything that is in my way, that darkness tries to stand in my way, that this wrecking ball of love has just annihilated it, caught it up into the momentum of his love's pursuit of movement towards me, and that it's just building. He's still doing it. God so loved you that he gave his one and only Son as the lamb slain before the foundations of the world to pursue relationship with you. And that as many who will believe in his Son and receive the gift of his life given for you will be saved. God's initiation to reach across infinity is a sure invitation to relational intimacy, being that his love overwhelmed impossibility to provide the substance of time and space to meet with you. My friends, my Father is still working in impossible ways still. That he didn't set this all in motion out of nothingness to abandon us to our own ways. My declaration to you is, whatever you find yourself in, flowing out of manifest testimony in my life, whatever you find yourself in that's opposing you, my Father's love and its forward rush to grip you in its embrace is more than capable to transform every element of your life into your good. If you subscribe to what I am doing, hit the button, hit it and then get it. Hit the bell as well so that you get notified with the new content. And if you loved this video, you didn't just like it, hit the thumbs down button. I pray blessings on your day. I love you guys lots, and I will see you in the next video.